Dark. That's a little low. With the Dark playlist now playing. Time for another rating video. This time, Stranger Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. Did better than I was expecting on the gameplay and about what I expected on the story. The story was -11, gameplay was +6. So, a net -5 overall. About what I expected. This is a Soulsborne game, took me only 4 sessions. Thank you, Chaos, for that. No cheats, let's get on with it. I know Chaos does not count as a cheat. Though, let's face it, he might as well be. So, let's start with the positives, what little there is for the story. There's some good visual storytelling, especially in the opening scene. There is some decent foreshadowing. It's very subtle, but it's there. The voice acting, which actually surprised the hell out of me, is actually on point for the most part. There's some good brickwork, good sprite work, which also acknowledges your equipment, good animations, all good stuff. The camaraderie between the party is good. If you divorce it all from FF1, the background lore is actually really well thought out. Again, you have to divorce it from FF1 though, which is the problem. That's loud in my ear. Here. And there's some good gameplay story integration. Yeah, only 9 presentation positives. Let's get into what few character positives there were, as there literally was only 3. Jed was actually the best party member of the crew. Just honestly, I liked Princess Sarah. It was nice that she actually had a brain in her head. And Captain BK was actually kind of what I wanted. More of a fleshing out of the characters from FF1, what little characters there were, instead of just, completely rewriting the script. Also, I like the ending conceptually, even if I don't think the story up to that point was very, very good. And again, if I divorce it from FF1, divorce FF1 from the equation, and honestly the rest of the story, then the outro is actually really, really good. To be honest, I have to either divorce FF1 from the equation or the rest of the game from the equation, kind of thing. So 14 in positives. Now let's get into the 25 negatives, shall we? Now, the world building being lacking is fine for a game on the NES, but the thing is that in this thing, the world building is completely absent, and that is unacceptable. Is completely unacceptable. The lack of it is just completely unacceptable. And since it bugs me through the whole game, triple negative. I also really hate the pacing of this game. It feels wonky all the way through. It feels like there's no cohesion to the pacing. At all. Especially considering the game does expect you to potentially grind too, which doesn't help. Which is also not helped by the god-awful story sequencing, as events just do not flow nicely into each other, so that was a triple negative. I mentioned it several times in the positives, so is it any wonder that I'm giving external continuity a triple negative? I also hate that this game overcomplicates the lore of FF1. See, FF1 was just a simple fantasy story, and this game decides that it has to make it convoluted. Like, we have to over-convolute the lore and make Garland like a part of the ancient civilization and shit. It's like, fuck off. It's too much. It overcomplicates things. It's so stupid. Not helped by the fact that empty text just plagues this game. because almost every fucking scene feels like I want to say, no shit, Sherlock. And it's like, fucking really? Like, seriously, there's so many times where the party will just point out things that are just blatantly fucking obvious, and you just want them to shut the fuck up. Because it's obvious. Come on. Not to mention, not helped by the fact that the dialogue and the banter both suck. The camaraderie, you might think the camaraderie was through the banter, but no. No, the camaraderie comes through despite the dialogue and the banter. And I also hate the frickin' plot. So 19 negatives to presentation. Now let's get into the characters I don't like. I ended up not liking Jack, like, at all. He was way too much of a one-note character. And here's the funny thing. He's one of only 2 characters that got negatives, as Astos was the other one. And he was a non-character until the 11th hour, and I really don't like the fact that this is supposed to be Astos, the dark elf who we beat pretty fucking early on in FF1. It's like, what the fuck, you know? I think that's one of the other reasons why I don't even like Lore's rewrite of FF1. You know? So, I get the whole point of the chaos doesn't exist plot point, and that it's meant to be symbolic foreshadowing, but it really pisses me off, as I always felt it made more sense that Garland merged into Chaos and became one. Guess spoilers for FF1. And then combine that with the time loop from FF1, and oh no, I've gone cross-eyed. This is what I mean when I say that that they're trying to over-convolute the lore, and I hate it. Also, I really, really, really don't like the intro, which I chop it up after the rehash of the cutscene that ends FF1's intro. It doesn't accomplish anything, even though it feels like it's trying to say that you did, you know? The reason FF1's intro works for just when you cross the bridge north of Cornelia is because most RPGs, and hell, most games in general, when FF1 came out, would end with you having defeated the Stalwart Knight and rescued the princess, and that would have been the end of the adventure. Dragon Quest I is a great example of that. That's actually why they have you go around the world in such a roundabout way in Dragon Quest I, and to kind of pad out the runtime a little bit. But here, it's just like, we didn't do anything yet, so it's like, what the fuck? And I also did not like the whole story bit of Strangers of Paradise, the mission, as I feel it breaks the continuity with FF1 with the deaths, and it just fucks over everything irreparably. Because you know how they're gonna fucking just fix that. Wibbly wobbly timey-wimey bullshit. This is look, if you're going to say that Garland being alive in the ending of FF1 is a fucking plot hole, at least give me that this is a fucking bullshit plot point as well, okay? Don't fucking try and argue that Garland being in the ending is a fucking plot hole, but the fucking bullshit that happens in the mission Stranger of Paradise in this fucking in-game, the title mission in this fuck heap isn't a giant fucking plot hole. I would argue it's worse of one because, again, I can headcanon an easy explanation. The crystals restore Garland to life. Hey, and he goes in and off and bees with Sarah, you know? Ugh. And then the final one was just the outro because of all of the connections to FF1. So yes, the outro was a positive and a negative. Let's get into the gameplay because there is some good stuff on display here. And I just realized my music stopped. So let's get some music going. Oh, in here. Alright, so I gave a positive to options, I gave a positive to the tutorials, I gave a full 3 positives to itemization. It's honestly really good stuff because you'll gain the level of you'll get items that are at the level of the mission as you go through it, which is good. I also gave a positive to loot. I gave 2 positives to class variety. Very good stuff. I gave 3 positives to viscerality because, yeah, there is actually some good viscerality on display. Your hits feel poignant in this one. So, once you get the hang of combat, you really do feel powerful. It's not like with FF16, which we'll talk about in the next rating video, where I just want it. I'm just like, ugh. You know, it needs to go away. Hey. Speaking of that, actually, I need to look something up. Give me a moment. Okay, I did do one for stories. Okay, good. Anywho. So there's good kit in terms of abilities. There's good builds in the form of class combos and the affinity system. I also find the affinity system to be nice for leveling up multiple classes at once, which is what an affinity system should be. Fire Emblem Engage. I like the combat animations. I like the finishers in particular. I ended up giving the core combat a triple positive. Soulsborne games are not my thing, but when the combat's good, you know? Co-op. It's designed so that everyone gets the loot you find in dungeons, which is good. So that ended up getting a triple positive. Also helped by the fact that there are you can use potions on allies, and not just have to rely on the limited Phoenix Downs you get. So that's cool. You only get Phoenix Downs in co-op, which is kind of weird, but whatever. I gave 2 positives to the quality of life. I gave 2 positives to the boss design, and I gave 2 positives to the power progression curve. I thought it was all good stuff. I like that allies can heal you from a distance with their spells, those which only really factors in co-op, but I'm okay with that. Good gameplay story integration, and then this is where I started giving positives to the classes. Puglist is a fun martial arts class. Marauder I really find axes to be fun in this game, so Marauder. White Mage, very useful spells. Lancer, the weapon makes the class fun. As I said for Marauder. Knight, I like Knight and its defensive capabilities, which is also the same for Paladin. Summoner is a fun as hell DLC class, which lets you become frickin' Bahamut, which is awesome. The Black Mage is kind of fun, and I really like this Psychelic Warrior class that you unlock at the end. It's also helped that there are some excellent spell effects on display. The bonus difficulties that the DLC gives you is actually, and the unlockable chaos difficulty is also good stuff. I also like extra mode as a reward for beating the game. And while I put it out of place, really, I do feel there's some good enemy variety. Then there's the intro, which I terminate at the callback to FF1. Gameplay-wise, the intro is good. Story-wise, yeah, no, it sucks. But gameplay-wise, it really does ease you in nicely, so cool. I liked fighting BK. I liked fighting the Black Knight. I liked fighting Tiamat. I liked fighting the Great Marlborough, as it was damn satisfying to kill that thing. Darkness Advent, that was a fun and intense final boss. I also Despite the bitching about it from a story perspective, I actually liked the mission Strangers of Paradise from a gameplay perspective. Or, no, sorry, I'm saying this wrong. Despite Strangers of Paradise being a jank mission, I like the outro. That's what I meant. There is value in replaying this game, so while I won't be replaying it, I do think it's helped. And of course, there's the mission select flavor of New Game Plus, so cool. Now on to the negatives now. Oh, 46 negatives to go through. Let's get this over with. Well, the damage values are not the worst I've seen in a Soulsborne game. That and other design elements make the game suffer from what I call go co-op or get fucked. The game really wants you to play co-op in this thing. Hey, playing solo really sucks in this thing. So that was 2 negatives. It's not the worst go co-op or get fucked I've ever seen. That distinction still belongs to Borderlands 3. Which I really need to just rip a new asshole with whoever wants to join me. Hey, just straight up. Then there's the difficulty curve, which I ended up giving a triple negative to. The story missions have a tendency to jump up 7 levels per mission. Now, this is mitigated by the power progression curve, but it is still goddamn annoying, and it just continued to irritate me all throughout the game, so triple negative. Then there was the audio spam, which just that started to really piss me off. There's some really bad visual distinction issues. And while it's not as bad in here than, say, compared to FF16, oh, fuck. Just good lord. And then there's the fact that the DLCs, these are locked behind difficulty modes. In other words, the DLC missions you have to play on a specific difficulty, which is just, really? So 2 negatives there. And then related to that is the difficulty. He has some grind for better equipment. Excuse me. You have to grind for better equipment on higher tiers. There are workarounds, thankfully, but, you know, that's still worthy of a negative. Then there's the wonkiness in the co-op, as sometimes it'll let you stay while progressing through the story. But at certain intervals and certain missions, it says, no co-op for you, go fuck yourself. I hate that. That's the same kind of shit that Lord complains about in FF14. Although, let's face it, it's way more egregious in FF14 because that's an MMO. Like, you're missing the point there, Square. I like this point I make about this, too. Game, did you ever think maybe I wanted to take a page out of this game's story and the idea of FF1 and, oh, I don't know, fight with my friends the whole time? God. That was a triple negative for I give a triple negative for the wonkiness of co-op, because it was just like, oh my god, why? You know? The enemy grab moves irritated me, and that was a double negative. The game is a lot quieter about it, but the late game adores its status effects. So that was a triple negative. Then there's the inventory limit, which is just arbitrary and annoying. Seriously, you have to go in and dismantle your weapons or it'll fill up fast. Especially if you loot everything, which, by the way, you're encouraged to. Thank you, Auto Dismantle, for existing. I also did not like the dungeon design at all. They are all mazes, and they all take way too goddamn long. Also, there's no map, so triple negative there. National Distortion pissed me off. Memories of Earth was irritating. And then I really hated the giant asshole laser in the mission to remember. God, that thing sucked. Triple negative there. I hated fighting Crayclaw in that same mission, and I also gave a negative to the overall little mission to remember in and of itself, because combine all of those, a shitty boss with an absolutely atrocious fucking gimmick in halfway through the stage, and yeah, you need to give the stage itself at least one negative. Then there's Kraken being an asshole. Oh, it was just, oh my god. Then there's the mission, The False Warriors, which is the aforementioned no co-op for you crap. So that was a triple negative. The Suffering of Fools. Fools pissed me off. Visually an eyesore, the maze-like design, and repetitive objectives. And then Strangers of Paradise, the mission. This is why I had to correct myself up in the positives. It's just a shitty mission overall. Hell, another difficulty spike where co-op is disallowed. Fuck that mission. Triple negative for that. And that, my friends, is Stranger of Paradise. If you like Soulsborne games, this might be one to check out, but seriously, skip that fucking story. That story sucks. Didn't take me too long, and that's just because I don't have a lot to say about this thing. Hell, I didn't even have that many positives or negatives on the board. FF16, on the other hand, is going to take me a little bit of time because there's a lot to go over despite it scoring so low. Because it's a lot of positives offset by a lot of negatives. And that's the problem. But regardless, that's going to do it for this rating video. So until next time, this is Blue Wolf Alex of the Lore Walkers signing out. Have a good one. Later.